Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time we're going to be doing a little Banlist reaction, and unfortunately we're going to be doing a follow-up video either today or tomorrow, where I want to kind of talk to you guys, be a bit more open about kind of my opinions on the state of Vanguard as it is right now. I know a lot of you guys have been seeing my, my Twitter posts recently. Obviously at Echo CBZ on Twitter, and I know a lot of people kind of got the feeling that we're kind of just dooming, being a bit too negative about the game for no reason. And I kind of just want to be honest with you guys, kind of share my thoughts generally. So we just got ourselves a ban list, effective, I want to say April 21st, so in 2 weeks' time. So you guys have 2 weeks to get ready, so I guess any BSFs happening between now and then will be going on with the format as it is right now. This list is a little bit different to Japan. So the Japanese list, which I'll be flashing on the screen pretty soon, involved a couple of hits kind of catching Japan up to where the West is at the moment, or kind of the end format. And some of those hits obviously give us a bit of information, things like for Bronto and the bird from Nubatama, I always forget its name, implying that when History Collection kicks in, because Japan is getting it, I think, in about a month, it's due to be giving us 2 markers each, which was kind of valuable information because all we had confirmed up until now was Gabblade. So that was good information to know. And a lot of other hits, kind of like Colossus being bad, they just catch them up a bit to the English format. Unfortunately, if we look at today's list, we'll see that there is no hits to Standard, which I think is okay, actually. I think Standard has a lot of problems. Oh, no, not a lot. Standard has several problems, and they're ones I would like to be discussing with you guys in a later video, so hopefully coming out this afternoon or tomorrow, perhaps. But none of Standard's problems, other than the overtrigger, but it's kind of clear that's not going anywhere. None of those problems are really gameplay related. The Standard gameplay loop is actually in a pretty good spot. So you have Jet, which, although powerful, I don't think there's necessarily a problem with powerful decks existing. I don't want every game being kind of like a wet noodle fest, so I do like the fact that strong decks exist. I like the way Ava plays, I like the way Jet plays, I like the fact that Welstra is a contender now. I'm kind of liking where the gameplay is at the moment. So all we have on the Western side is a V premium hit and a premium hit, or a set of hits rather. So on the V side, we have Prudent Blue Meep for Bermuda Triangle, going from restricted to 1 to unrestricted. So this is the Melody support that got banned in Japan. So for those of you that aren't aware, about a year or so ago, while we were dealing with Prism in our V format, being what we thought was the hands down best second format, what Japan was coping with at the time was that rather than Prism being the dominant Bermuda list, it was to them Melody that was the dominant Bermuda list. So the way Japan addressed it is restricting I believe it's their Searcher to 1. And obviously now going back, now that, kind of we have Steam edits for a while, we just want a bit, something kind of pushing it back into the format a bit. They decided to let that come back to 4. Honestly, I'm also probably just going to make like Melody kind of compete with Prism now, maybe be a bit better. But the really interesting, because that never really took over the West as much as it did Japan. But the interesting hit is Steam Maiden Entrana has finally been banned. Now, I'm in 2 minds about this. So on the one side, there's 3 kind of angles here, and I'm not quite sure where I'm on yet. So on the one side, this is a hit to Steam Maiden, a much needed hit. Because Colossus, although hurting the deck, because you couldn't just kind of OTK your opponent out of nowhere again, you couldn't just plonk a card and just go, your hand is irrelevant, die please. You can't quite do that anymore, which is nice. It makes the matchup a lot more fun, it makes the mirror a lot less depressing, a lot less frustrating to kind of go into. So I'm actually happy on that front. I'm happy that card was gone. But that kind of left Steam Maidens with a couple potential hits. So Anglise isn't really a thing in V. That is more of a premium thing, just for the write-down format, but we'll discuss that later. The main 2 hits in V were either Entrana or the Cat. I'm of the opinion, generally, that the hit to V should have been the Cat. The reason for that is because there aren't too many Steam Maidens as names. Or rather, the ones that exist are pretty bad. They're kind of from they're mostly commons from Astral Force and Next Stage. So they're pretty crap, honestly. But so what this functionally does is 2 things. 1, it removes the Entrana and Gearcat play. It keeps Steam Maidens capable of searching out their Steam Maidens, which is pretty important, of course. And it also stops Steam Maidens from reliably fueling their bind zone. So it's going to force Steam Maidens to run more Reinnovate Dragons, maybe more like manual binds. So some of these old Steam Maiden cards do come with kind of built-in bind skills. So I believe in Premium there's a grade 1 rewind, on place, bind from hand, retire an opponent's Rayguard, for example. So it's all these little cards that you're going to have to start running out, which is a bit awkward. It decreases the odds of having a good grade 2 to time leap into. And I use the term time leap just to refer to the Steam Maiden interaction in V. Those of you who play Premium, that's not what I'm talking about. So, personally, I would like to see Gearcat hit, because although Gearcat still exists, and obviously it could never search itself, so that's fine, what this does is, the reason I like Entrana being in the game is because of all the previous reasons, but also the fact that without Gearcat in the format, you can't on play CB1 call something, because the cat isn't there anymore. But it still allows you to fuel your bind zone and draw at the cost of committing a card from hand. Now, I understand why they made the Entrana hit, but I'm kind of happy that the Entrana hit exists. But unfortunately, the way V has been designed, especially towards late V, so maybe from around next stage onwards, there has been a case with V where every single set short of like set 11, kind of brings a new deck in that does what the previous deck does, but better. So there's kind of a problem where if you ban Top Dog, there's kind of like 2 or 3 decks right under it that do the same thing. So for example, if Steam Maidens hit, I think it's still C-Spy. I think the deck's like doable. But with Steam Maiden like no longer Top Dog, it becomes a fight between Ange, maybe Melody, and Luand running around. Gaga to a lesser extent. I don't think Gaga's like a massive deal right now. But between those 3 decks, all that really happens is you go from 1 top deck to like 3. But the difference isn't huge. So it's still a pretty oppressive format. It's just that Steam Maidens are like worse now, and I'm happy that happens, because I don't want Steam Maidens like being the best deck. Because you go to teams and every single team has Steam Maidens, like in Team League, every single team. You go to, you look at Worlds, you look at BCS season, every single event was dominated by Steam Maidens. And that's not really something you always want to be seeing. You do want a bit of diversity in your game, of course. So all in all, the V hits are okay. It makes the deck a bit more playable. It makes the format a bit less, I just want to kill myself a little bit less, which is nice. But I think overall, I'm a bit just worried to see V going into the future, but I guess that's going to happen every ban list, so it's just going to be a matter of how Premium is looking. And when it comes to the Premium hits, we've only got, I want to say 4 hits? Yeah, we've got 4 amendments to the restriction list. What we don't have is Stunverse to 1, because obviously we got that back last ban list, and Japan kind of got their catch up now. We don't have the Colossus ban that Japan had, because of course it's already banned for us. And we don't have the Fulbronto and the Bird ban, because obviously those are History Collection bans, or what seem to be History Collection preemptive bans. And since we don't get that set until August, it would make very little sense for them to ban them now and hurt the people who want to play those decks in Springfest season. There's probably going to be a ban in about July, maybe? Kind of June, July time, probably mid-July, that's going to be taking the role of this and kind of preemptively hitting things for History Collection. But as for the lists that we do have, we have Inglisa restricted, so Inglisa is now banned in Premium. Now, what this is really meant to target is the write down. So what Steam Maidens aren't able to do anymore is go first, write down, kind of go Inglisa, go into Time Leaper Dragon, and kind of go back down to a grade 2 and kind of keep doing that. Keep farming the force markers, keep staying with grade 2, and preventing your opponent from striding. That was the deck's main game plan up until now, and it's no longer able to do that. Now, the strange thing for me, and it's the one thing I can't quite understand. I can understand them doing this for this Springfest season, I guess. My frustration is that they're hitting these decks that ride down aggressively. But they're not only hitting the wrong things, or missing hits, but they're doing this before History Collection, which seems to be a set that is so oppressive for going first, that you would never run Ride Down in that format. You would never run Ride Downs into that format. You would never give up GB2 on a good unit, or like on an okay unit, to like get 1 extra force marker. Like, I'm never going Inglisa Time Leaper into like into another Entrana, or Entrana's the sack, like into like Nabu or something, when I could be going like I don't know, go crest jet, ride jet, get two false markers, go like, what is it? I forget the Gate Chronicle unit. Like cold melon to the front and just like pop off. Like I don't think that's ever happening. So all these hits to ride down seem to be really confusing me. Like, I understand why they exist, but I think especially into the format we're going into, it's a bit of a strange time to do it. But I mean, I'll take it. I'll take anything that means I have to face less teammates in premium, because I personally don't think they're very healthy for the game. However, bringing it back to the V hits, the interesting thing is, although I wanted the cat banned in V, I would be pretty happy with Entrana banned in premium, actually. Because what this prevents you from doing is it prevents you from having to like hard damage and ice team maintenance. Because team maintenance currently on 1 damage can go Entrana cat, CC crit, Entrana cat, go +6 for the crime of you attacking them once. So obviously that's always been insane, and they shouldn't be able to do that, obviously. But the interesting thing is, because it's still, I think Steam Maintenance is still a pretty solid deck, because you're still able to just ride up to your V game plan, and if you go in second, you just go up Stride, Slishma, and just kind of play from there. And obviously, Slishma is a plenty powerful Stride, and so you're just going to keep doing that. The second hit we got is Sheltered Heiress Spangled. So this is the Grey Nature G-Guard that Japan also banned. This I have a pretty major problem with, personally. Just because I don't like Bushiroad's design philosophy and all this. And it's something I've been discussing with some friends. I wasn't discussing this on some other videos I was on other channels, but I kind of wanted to save it here. Well, actually, to an extent I did. So my frustration with Bushiroad's current design is the reason this is banned is because in conjunction with the 2020 Premium Collection Stride for Great Nature, which basically, the shorthand of it is whenever anything's retired from your board, it goes to the bottom of the deck. What you're able to do is just turbo draw your deck out, leave yourself on like 1 card in deck, and proceed to reverse stack your overtrigger and other triggers for your second strike turn. Because obviously this needs to be GB1, so you either G-Guard something, or if you have a lot of field guards, you can kind of just replace your hand a couple times, leave yourself 1 card short of deck out, reverse stack OT and kill. My problem with this philosophy is this is banning a card that makes a bad clan slightly more playable at the expense of, or the alternative to doing this is banning the problem card, which is the Overtrigger. Because this has been around for 2 years now, this has been available from day 1 of Premium, and has never done a thing. This is kind of like the Ultima ban, like Ultima restriction with Overtriggers, where I understand why it's there, but this isn't the point. You shouldn't be killing a whole clan because of a bad interaction with a card that shouldn't exist. Overtriggers should not be in this game, and the fact that they keep being in this game and keep being designed around is very frustrating. You have Grey Nature fans that just were able to play for their decks for the first time in years because like Candelaria exists, and so the deck is cool, and it's fun, and it's fresh. But then this interaction that has never done anything exists because Bushiroad doesn't ban the card, is now going to prevent them from playing their favorite clan. Even as like a cope, like you just hit a deck that was already down for no reason. This isn't some new or groundbreaking interaction, this was a day 1 interaction that never did a thing. Because the clan it was attached to was bad. And instead of fixing the game, it's just a lot of small patchwork changes that don't feel like they need to be there. There could be very simple other solutions that they're just not brave enough to take at the moment, which is a bit disheartening, honestly. As for the last 2 hits, we've had the one that hurts me deep inside the most, is a Highlander player, the band Silver Singer Qtire, or the main reason to play Highlander is gone, or it was the main reason, we'll get to that in a moment. So Qtire is banned. For those of you that are unaware, what Qtire said is basically on place, declare a card name, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you hit that card. If all normal units have different card names, add that card to your hand. Basically, search any card in your deck other than Reindeer and your triggers, and add it to your hand. So this card was insane. It was your main reason for running Highlander. Card was fucking broken. Card's insane. I understand why it's gone. This is pure, like, me being me. I like the deck a lot. I've taken it to 2 consecutive seasons of Springfest. Big fan. I like the gameplay a lot. I'm not a big fan of the design. Those of you who know what I think of Lyrical Monastery can probably guess how I feel about Bermuda cards. I don't like them very much. What I do love, though, is the gameplay. I've always loved Highlander decks, and this Highlander deck is no exception. It's a fucking blast. I love playing it. The main thing for me is that this still leaves Reindeer untouched. Reindeer is our main ride-down engine, which is kind of where the deck gets all of its push power, because it could be punished if you don't get to farm hand very much, but that's not a concern if you can keep playing Reindeer. Up until very recently, the main philosophy in playing Highlander was that the deck is Jockey Tie or Die. But there was a few people that innovated on that, kind of Maxime Solom being one, Maxime Solom Vanguard, Maxime, whatever, being one of them. Or kind of the most predominant one, obviously, because of his 3rd place finish in Worlds. But the new movement in Highlander has effectively been what we shouldn't do is, as the deck was, a bunch of really useful techs, but then that did make the deck Jockey Tie or Die, because you needed all of your pieces in a very certain order in a very certain time. So if you didn't see it, you kind of just left it up to fate, and that was not very good, or not very consistent at least. What the deck has now leaned towards from there is it went from being full of techs to being a deck that is tailored to high roll, and then if you see Qtire, you get to do high roll more. However, you're not at all reliant on Sinker. Because of that, and because of that adaptation and move away from the Qtire reliance, this hit, while hitting Highlander certainly, I think still leaves it as one of the best decks in the format, because Reindeer still exists, and Reindeer is still at 4. And until History Collection comes out, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm riding fucking Reindeer, calling a Pearl Sister, pray JC the other one, and go into Arch. Like, no way I don't. Like, the deck is still very oppressive. This doesn't really address it, and I am a bit sad to see this kind of game plan go. Or at least this card go. I thought it was a neat angle and a neat payoff to a deck design restriction. That being said, I still think Highlander is still one of the best decks, but you know, rest of Springfest we'll wait and see. I suppose if something happens, then when History Collection comes out, then the deck isn't that solid anyway. Finally, we've got the one kind of spooky unrestrict, which I'm sure my teammate Ray is going to be very happy about, is Green Katrina's back from banned to unrestricted. That's a choice. We saw that on the JP side. I was kind of hoping it wasn't going to come here, but here we are, I guess. So the main thing with Katrina is not to borrow a quote, but I think Maxime put it best. It's that Katrina is the kind of card that is never healthy for the game, because if it's too slow, that means the format is insanely fast, and that is not a fun format. If the format is long enough, she's insane. And if Katrina's insane, it's not a fun format. So it's one of those cards that feels like a bit of a net negative. But you know what? I'm in a way happy for new Nectar players to being able to play a Deca game. So welcome back into the game. I'll be seeing you guys pretty soon. I hear a lot of you guys have left to other games. So welcome back, Flesh and Blood players, I guess. Like all 3 Neo Nectar mains. And people can start playing the deck again, which, I'd like to see how it's going to pan out. I'd love to be wrong about this, but we'll see from here on out. So, all in all, D hits are, well, lack thereof is absolutely fine. As I said, we'll be discussing the D issues at a later video. V hits are mostly alright. I'd love to have seen slightly different hit on Steam Maidens, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited to see something other than a Gear Chronicle starter flipped across from me. And for Premium, I'm honestly overall, I'm okay with the hits. I'd like to see how it pans out. Obviously, I think the Spangled hit is kind of bullshit, honestly. And I think the Katrina is concerning, and something you should definitely be keeping an eye on. But for Qtire and Glisa, I understand why they're there. And I'd like to see kind of how the decks evolve kind of beyond this point and see what happens between now and History Collection coming out in August. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys in a video soon. Bye guys.